Welcome back to the Aware Show. I am Lisa Garr, and there's so much work that my amazing guest has done in his life. He has not only been talking about the disclosure movement for a very, very long time, and the work that he's doing with the Lakota Nation has been absolutely amazing. But also, Danny Sheehan, he has really acclaimed. He's done so much for civil rights. He's been a civil rights attorney. He's been at the forefront of UAP disclosure for a very long time, and also a transparency advocate, which we have learned. So I've learned so much from Danny Sheehan over the years, and I really appreciate him joining us today. Thank you so much for being here, Danny. I really appreciate it.
Terrific, Lisa. So it's a privilege to get to be here.
Tell me one of the main topics right now with all that we've learned. We've seen these hearings on UAPs. We've seen all of this coming to the rise of our Congress and so forth. Where are we going with this? What if people really did know that we have, unidentified people living among us, or beings living among us?
Well, I think that for our purposes, for the Conscious Life Expo, et cetera, I think one of the most important focal points is that there's such a major part of this story having to do with human consciousness. The primary thesis of the source of the UFOs is that the simple one, the kind of Occam's razor explanation, is that this is in fact, members of several extraterrestrial species inside our galaxy, who are many billions of years more advanced than we, both biologically and technologically, who have figured out the secrets to superluminal space flight. So they can go faster than the speed of light. They can move from star system to star system. Okay, and that when people realize that our star is only 4.5 billion years old, and our Earth is only 3.5 billion years old, our species is only several hundred, well, a million years old.
Mm.
But there are other star systems in our galaxy. The galaxy, the entire universe is 13.7 billion years old, which means that there are star systems and planetary systems in our galaxy that are perhaps 6 to 7 billion years more advanced than we. And now, if we track the assumptions that I think most of the spiritual community has, that the function of consciousness of our human species is evolving teleologically and progressively into the future in a more and more complex and higher state of consciousness, a higher vibrational frequency, that we're developing various faculties of extrasensory perception, telepathic capacities, etc., and that these are viewed as being, destined for us to achieve if we don't destroy ourselves, if we don't destroy the entire civilization that we have, through global climate change or massive thermonuclear war, that this is anticipated will occur. Now, if in fact you have a number of species, at least 5 of which we've fairly clearly identified, each of whom comes from a starfaring system that is perhaps billions of years more advanced than we are,
Right.
who clearly display telepathic capacities, who actually operate their craft telepathically, that it has to do with an exercise of their consciousness, and that if in fact they are displaying faculties and capacities that are in our own projected future, what we're looking at here is a potential leap ahead of what the normal biological, teleological unfolding of the evolution of our consciousness that's talked about by Teilhard Chardin, for example, in Jeffrey Mishlove, in others, that if this has taken place already in other star systems, and we can have direct face-to-face contact with beings who are millions of years more advanced consciously than we are, that we have an opportunity as a human family to leap over basically a million years of potential future evolution, step-by-step evolution of our consciousness, to be confronted with the higher level of our own consciousness that may be able to unlock and unfold on an accelerated basis the consciousness of our human species. Now, I mean, it's hard to imagine a more profound issue, and it is embedded at the center of the entire UFO phenomenon. Because
So,
even though other people have kind of much more mundane discussions about how does the technology work, are our national security state forces trying to back engineer it to make a weapon system? There are all kinds of more or less prosaic issues that arise, but this one is the truly esoteric dimension of the UFO phenomenon.
what you're saying is that there's, societies or there's civilizations that are billions and billions and billions of years old. We are young, and as a species, maybe, a million years.
Yes,
That's it. Yet, uh, you could presuppose that many species before us on Earth have imploded, have made themselves,
possibly.
pardon me,
Possibly. There's
possible.
evidence. There's evidence to that effect.
You could
Grant
assume that.
and others have tracked it.
So then this species we're living in right now is a very, very intelligent one. And with this level of intelligence comes, you know, uh, different perspectives, maybe people taking power from using this intelligence for misusing the intelligence, utilizing it for incredible good, tapping into the telepathic intelligence. You're saying that as this is really a conscious conversation, what we're talking about is the consciousness, the capacity that we have as a species of the consciousness of humanity to connect with each other, to heal, to use it for good, and
Yeah.
to really learn from some of these other potential civilizations that would be ignorant to think don't exist, to be honest with you. On
Okay. Yeah, yeah, all that is exactly true. And many people don't think about that as being that they have some sort of vague, numinous kind of response to encountering a UFO that kind of knocks them out of their present strictures of
Because it's so
reality.
unfamiliar. Yes.
But they don't quite associate it necessarily with consciousness. But they do very quickly associate it with spiritual experience. That this has jarred them into a situation where they want to run to church, they want to call their priest, they want to
Change their lives, of
yeah, yeah,
course.
they want to
Mhm.
immediately try to relate this kind of dislocation in their experience with spirituality, because it is the ground to which each of us retreats when confronted by challenges to our incarnation. If
Yeah.
we think we're in desperate trouble, or our mother dies or father dies, a loved one dies, that instantly people recoil back to the kind of center of their consciousness, and that this is what happens when people encounter UFOs or an ET being, and they immediately start relating it to the issue of spirituality, and spirituality has such a direct relationship to the issue of consciousness.
Hmm.
That's what
Right.
spirituality is all about. What
Right.
we in our human culture refer to as spirituality and modes of spiritual expression has entirely to do with our consciousness,
Yeah.
and so does the UFO phenomenon.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, there are people that we speak with, I host Coast to Coast also, and people feel terrified. They're terrified
Mhm.
by the experience. They're frightened. They feel that, they're maybe those societies also have, some of them have ill intentions. You don't know. You're not quite sure, but having all of that as an experience makes us up who we are. It tells me one thing, Danny. It tells me if all of this is true, we have the ability to make a difference, and you can see it happening with space flight, with getting into, interdimensional conversations, with remote viewing, with all of this, if we were really to know that all of this was available to us, would we be dealing with the more petty things in life? I don't know. I
Well,
mean,
we hope not. I
the
mean,
more mundane
the,
things in life.
the assumption, I mean, since I was a little child and I first realized what stars were, when I really became knowledgeable that these are sons of other planetary systems, and that there have to be other people on these other planets. That perspective immediately struck me, even at the age of 7 years old, as revelatory of the fact that the kind of things we do to each other here in our kind of more mundane horizontal world down here are preposterous. For us to be drawing lines in the sand and say that if you come over across this line into my territory, I'm going to use my intellect to dig into the earth and dig out minerals and melt them down and turn them into a weapon. I can shoot lead into your body and kill you. This
Yeah.
is absurd. It's so completely contrary to the levels of reality that we're functioning in a complete myth, a fictional world. And so that has the potential impact of theoretically dissolving away some of these false structures that we have superimposed upon our reality, which are limitations on understanding what the dimensions of reality really are. And that's what the UFO phenomenon portends. It
Mm.
portends the dissolution of a lot of those artificial walls and structures. And so, of course, it constitutes a threat to those who believe that they are presently gaining advantage over mastering these structures. Uh,
Anything
that we're
unfamiliar,
worried about.
right, right. Right. And that is a big deal for things to be unfamiliar, for people to have the unknown can be absolutely posing a threat. But I want to ask you about you. I mean, as a civil rights attorney, you have done a lot of work with the Lakota tribe.
Yeah.
What do these indigenous tribes teach us about these other potential galaxies?
Well, the Lakota people specifically, you know, and there's Lakota, Nakota, and Dakota dialects, but they're all part of the Ocheti Sakawan of Yate, which is these are the people that live on the plains and came from the northern rivers of North America. But they believe in their spiritual tradition that they actually come from the Pleiades. That this is their sacred knowledge.
They do. And explain the Pleiades.
The Pleiades are the seven sisters. This is a specific constellation that is in the nighttime sky. If you find Orion's belt, which is a very conspicuous group of the three stars, and you look off to the right from there into the distance, you'll see a little gathering of like a little body of stars. If you know where you're looking, that's the Pleiades. It's the seven sisters. There are
Sisters.
seven
Okay.
major stars with their own planetary systems that are there. And the Lakota people, as a whole, out of their spiritual history, believe that they came originally from the Pleiades, and that they actually came down through some sort of a transmission process into the wind caves in the Black Hills of South Dakota, and that they were gestated up. It's like an Adam and Eve story. That they believe that they were gestated and came up in the material incarnation in the wind caves in the Black Hills, and then they spread out onto the plains.
Mhm.
And that I have sat with the spiritual leaders, and they talk about this. Okay, and they also believe that they have had and had down through history in the Lakota territory direct face-to-face encounters with the star beings. And they talk about this in their sacred traditions. They
The
don't talk
stories.
about this a lot with Wachuchi, the white people. They don't talk about this. But it's extraordinarily important to their whole theology of what's going on, in that they receive messages that in the shaman in the Lakota tradition share this information with their people, and this is an essential part of their entire theophany.
And the
They have,
symbolism around this too, right? Some of
pardon?
the symbolism shows this in the hieroglyphics of the Lakota tribes, shows these outer worldly
Yeah,
civilization
yeah,
contact, right?
they do. They do. So, it sounds rather mundane, once you just get down to it, that they that they believe that they, and the fact is that we now have an extraordinarily burgeoning body of evidence of literally tens of thousands of people around the world having these face-to-face encounters with extraterrestrial beings, and we have mythology that runs all through Western civilization of having encounters with angelic beings, that beings of light, that manifest with light all around them, etc. So that this is what we're on the brink right now as a human civilization of basically coming to grips with the kind of real scientific, materially grounded reality that has generated the kind of spiritual traditions down through the many tens of thousands of years of our human species. And we're getting set now to realize that it turns out that it's real.
How do you think society would operate differently if we knew that there were other civilizations that have lived billions of years?
Well, there are differing groups, of course, inside our human family. That our human family. One of the things that we learned in I was doing the PhD studies on comparative social ethics, that when confronted by any particular social policy challenge, our human family tends to divide ourselves into these factions that are predicated upon differing assumptions that lead to different worldviews, right? Having to do with our cosmological assumptions and our a number of assumptions that we have in our unconscious. But the bottom line is our human family is still inclined to do that. And each of these different worldviews has a different kind of reaction to the revelation of the UFO reality. The authoritarians, for example, immediately try to figure out how they can establish an alliance with them so that they can become the viscounts or the legates on our planet to still run our planet, because the authoritarians believe that's what they need to do.
Hmm.
The dialecticians, the reactionaries, for example, view them as a threat instantaneously. They are the ultimate other, and they engine their entire sense of being off the differentiation between themselves and the ultimate other. And it ranges all the way over to the utopianists who perceive them as the spiritual beings who are enlightened, who can share love and affection and help unlock those kind of stored capacities of our human family. So the period that we're going through right now is each of these different worldviews, our human people are going to respond in a different way to the revelation of the realization of what the extraterrestrial civilization is like. Now, the question is, how much information is going to be shared with us by the extraterrestrial species that in fact answer the fundamental questions about the worldviews that cause all of us to be inclined to gravitate toward a single worldview, because it's answering questions about the origins of the universe, the ultimate end product of the universe, how consciousness relates to the material realm, all of these profound metaphysical questions that undergird the assumptions of a worldview. If they're answered by the extraterrestrials, they pose both an opportunity but a threat at the same time of having us all gravitate toward a single solitary worldview.
Ah,
And so we
yes.
we need to be careful, because the diversity of worldviews and the diversity of opinions is highly praised and valued by our human family.
Is it healthy?
It's viewed to be an essential aspect of our exercise of free will, that we get to formulate our own worldview. We get to have our own opinions about things. The problem is if you have an authoritative, not authoritarian, but an authoritative source of information that goes right to the very core issues that undergird a worldview. This inclination toward adopting a single worldview uh,
Mhm.
has threats of moving from an authoritative reality into an authoritarian reality. So,
Yes.
and we have to be on guard. We have to be cognizant of this. We have to be intelligent and savvy. We have to be humble in acknowledging the kind of probably lesser uh, uh, holistic perspective that we probably have as a human species as compared to them. But we still have to reserve our right for our own agency to make our own decisions about our own species and our own planet, as long as we aren't threatening the life generating capacity of our planet. Because the
Right.
minute that we start doing that, the extraterrestrial beings who value the life generating capacity of our planet within our galaxy, because it's a comparatively rare phenomenon, these planets that actually gestate life. And we as a single species are not going to be authorized to take the steps to terminate the life generating capacity of this planet. You know, that
Mm.
we're not entitled to that. That is an abuse of our own agency. Okay,
Wow.
and so
Yeah.
the what's going on right now is, you see, as we get closer to the potentials of a threat of thermonuclear war, such as the Ukraine and the moving of U.S. nuclear missiles up into the boundaries of the Soviet Union, they're responding with the threats of the deployment of tactical nuclear weapons, et cetera. What you see is a huge increase in the number of events of UFOs appearing
Oh,
and appearing
interesting.
over our nuclear facilities and turning off our nuclear missiles and disabling entire nuclear aircraft carriers, rising up out of the sea and shutting them down in the middle of the night so that they're completely cut off. There's no propulsion, there's no electricity, there's no communications. They are completely dead in the water. And they've been demonstrating that to us now over the more recent months, as we ourselves are approaching the folly of potential thermonuclear war.
It's amazing to know that we're being protected. I mean, I love what you said about having different opinions is healthy. It is allows us to be individuals. And especially in this country, differing opinions is what this country is based on. And I feel that when you said there's a problem when you have too much of an authoritative, one opinion dominating um, perspective, it invalidates that what humanity is based on is our right to have various opinions. And it can get out of control. And we've seen this happen in our history. Absolutely. We've seen this happen before. It wasn't as threatening as now. In the past, when Hitler was alive, that wasn't as threatening as nuclear war, where it blows out our entire planet. And
Well, but it doesn't threaten to terminate the life generating capacity of our planet. This is a unique, this is a unique point at which human civilizations may have arisen technologically in the past that may have led to their own extinction. But the threat to actually permanently damage the life generating capacity of our planet is an existential threat, not just to our species, but to our planet. And if our planet and its ability to gestate life is an asset of our galaxy, there's legitimate jurisdiction that other species have to potentially intervene.
and
Uh,
that's alive now more than ever that ever has been,
Very
right?
much so.
That's what
Very
you're
much
saying.
so right now.
Well, I want to tell you that you can hear Danny talk about this for hours at the Conscious Life Expo, and I'm really excited about his particular talk is on Saturday, February 8th at 2 p.m. and also a post-conference event on Monday, February 2nd. So the Conscious Life Expo it's held at the LAX Hilton, February 7, 8, 9, and 10th is the additional breakout sessions, speakers, authors, booths, hundreds of people. It's amazing. And knowing that the support from the Conscious Life Expo um, is here, it for the Aware Show comes from the Conscious Life Expo today on this show, presenting the expo being held February 7, 8, 9 at the LEX Hilton. And you can find out more at consciouslifeexpo.com. I'm just really grateful for you thank you so much. I think there has been a lot that we've scratched here on the surface of this. You'll get to talk more on Monday, February 10th at the Expo. And what is the title of your topic there?
I'm going to be discussing the latest information about the UFO phenomenon and its interrelationship between the potential threat of nuclear war right now.
Yeah, I was watching the congressional hearings on their broadcast live
Yeah.
for everyone to see in real time. And how much further are they going with those hearings, or are they over?
Well, no, they're not over. They're not over. No, there are definitely going to be additional hearings.
Right.
We're deeply involved at the New Paradigm Institute, which is a major project of our Romero Institute, which has been very active in it's set up the Lakota People's Law Project. You know, we did the Karen Silkwood case, we did the Iran Contra case. We've done all those major litigations. We're focused. One of our projects now is this New Paradigm Institute that is trying to deal with the consequences of disclosure of what the very questions you're asking. What are the impacts going to be on the geopolitical structures of our planet, the economic structures of our planet, the technology of our various nation states? You know, how are we going to come to grips with and integrate this new knowledge in a positive and constructive way, and keep it from being misused, you know, to form weapons? This is something that we're all working on now, and that's going to be the topic of my discussion in February.
I think that's fascinating because it's the one topic that unites the Democrats, the Republicans, the earthers, everyone. This is the one topic that disclosure of other civilizations could truly change the way that we live our lives. It really, truly could. So
Absolutely right.
it's been a quest for a
Absolutely.
very long time. Well, thank you so much, Danny. I know that you're busy, and we'll see you at the Conscious Life Expo. There's a lot to explore there.
Terrific, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I am Lisa Garr, and I always appreciate you being a part of the Aware Show. You can also listen to our show on our podcast. Wherever you hear podcasts, listen to the Aware Show podcast. And you can also listen at theawareshow.com. And again, until next time, I invite you all to stay aware.